Size, men used to know what was expected of them. Work hard, be useful, keep the engine running. Now a machine can draft your emails, fake your confidence, and chew through the first half of the career ladder before you have even figured out where the ladder begins. Curious. So the question is no longer whether AI will change masculinity. It already is. The question is whether men will become sharper, steadier, and more responsible with these tools, or whether they will become expensive houseplants with passwords. Pause. Hello, my name is Gene. I'm building a club to help people navigate our AI cultural revolution. It is Guildrim. We will master the new AI tools, support people displaced by the machine, and lead them into the cybernetic future. Curious. Our topic today is masculinity in the age of AI. Let's begin. Thoughtful. For a long time, masculinity came with a bargain. It was plain, sometimes harsh, but easy to understand. A man was supposed to become useful in the world. He would build skill, endure boredom, make money, solve problems, and create a life sturdy enough for other people to lean on. That bargain could grind men down. Still, it gave life a shape. Now, the shape is changing. Size. A lot of men were trained for a world that no longer exists. They were taught that diligence would carry them. Show up, work hard, keep your mouth shut, move up over time. Then they entered a world where the rules were being rewritten by software, automation, and systems they did not build and barely understand. That creates a strange kind of humiliation. A man can still be serious, he can still be willing, he can still show up on time, yet he finds that reliability alone no longer guarantees anything. The machine wants different traits now. It wants adaptation, it wants abstraction. It wants digital fluency. It wants the ability to rebuild yourself while the ground is moving beneath you. That is a hard adjustment, especially for men who were raised on older instincts. Their fathers and grandfathers lived in a world where usefulness was easier to see. You fixed something, you carried something, you sold something, you kept the operation running. The rewards were never perfect, but the path was visible. Now the path is hazier. The rewards are less certain. The old map still hangs on the wall, but half the roads on it lead into a river. That is where the trouble begins. Men do not only lose security when a system changes this fast, they lose the script that told them who they were supposed to become. Exhales. A paycheck matters. Landlords remain stubbornly attached to the concept. But money is only part of the problem. Work does more than pay bills. It tells a man what he is for. It gives him a place in a chain of competence. It lets him measure himself against standards outside his moods. That is why instability at work spreads into the rest of life so easily. A shaky career often becomes a shaky identity. A shaky identity becomes drift. Drift becomes resentment, passivity, or a private little collapse conducted through headphones and blue light. Size. That is why so many men now seem restless even when they are employed. They are earning money, but the work often feels abstract, disposable, and detached from any visible human need. A man can spend 8 hours moving digital symbols around and still feel as though he built nothing, protected nothing, and served no one. It is hard to feel grounded when your chief output is a spreadsheet no one will remember next week. That vacuum invites substitutes. Some men turn to internet gurus. Some turn to status games. Some hide inside irony until it becomes a personality. Some slide into entertainment, minor addictions, and a permanent half-serious shrug. Once a man loses his map, almost any fool with confidence starts to look like a guide. This is part of why the present moment feels so tense. A lot of men are not merely under pressure, they are disoriented. And disoriented men are easy prey. They are vulnerable to flattery, anger, and fake visions of greatness sold by people with microphones and haircuts like budget warlords. The old economy could be cruel. The new one can be shapeless. Cruelty wounds a man. Shapelessness dissolves him. That is worse in a quieter way. A man can fight an enemy he can see. It is much harder to fight fog. Thoughtful. This problem does not begin at age 30 with a layoff and a strained smile. It starts much earlier. A lot of boys were already drifting before AI entered daily life in a serious way. They were struggling to sit still, to care about school, to find meaning in abstract tasks, and to connect effort with reward. Many were bored, many were frustrated. Many learned very early that the world of institutions did not seem built with them in mind. That matters because the coming economy rewards exactly the traits many boys have failed to develop in stable form. It rewards patience with symbolic work. It rewards language. It rewards self-management. It rewards the ability to sit with complexity and keep going. If a boy already feels alienated from reading, from school, and from long periods of quiet intellectual effort, then a world built around software and constant retraining is not going to feel like a warm welcome. Size. Now add AI to that picture. Curious AI can help a student learn. It can explain a concept, summarize a chapter, and offer practice. But it can also become an escape hatch. A boy who already resents school can use the machine to bypass the very friction that might have formed him. He gets the answer without building the mind that would have produced it. That feels efficient in the short term. It is ruinous in the long term. The issue is not that boys are doomed. They are not. The issue is that many boys need challenge, apprenticeship, motion, visible stakes, and meaningful standards. Instead, they are often given abstraction, passivity, and endless paper shuffling dressed up as education. Then people act startled when boys go looking for meaning somewhere else. The surprise is fake. The pattern is plain. A society that does not form its boys should not be amazed when other forces do the job badly. Thoughtful. One of the strangest things about AI is that it can feel helpful in exactly the places where it is dangerous. A machine that always answers, always responds, and never gets tired can be useful in obvious ways. It can explain a topic, untangle a problem, draft an outline, or help you think through a plan, fine. But it can also become a substitute for the rough parts of human life that actually shape character. Friendship requires patience. Brotherhood requires mutual correction. Courtship requires nerve. Real conversation requires attention. Sarcastic. A chatbot requires electricity and low standards. That is where the trouble starts. A weak man is often drawn to whatever reduces embarrassment. That is one reason the machine can become seductive. It offers the appearance of intimacy without the risk of rejection. It gives support without demands. It listens without ever needing you to improve. Size. In older times, temptation wore perfume. Now it arrives as a polished interface and asks whether you would like help organizing your feelings. This is where masculinity can quietly decay. A man starts using the machine to ease loneliness. Then he uses it to avoid awkwardness. Then he uses it to replace the work of becoming a better friend, son, husband, or neighbor. He becomes more comfortable, but less formed, more soothed, but less substantial. Convenience is never neutral. It always trains someone. If a society fills every hard corner of life with simulation, many men will become less capable of reality itself. They will prefer the company of systems that never contradict them. They will enjoy interactions that demand nothing and flatter everything. That may feel gentle, but it is a trap. A man who cannot endure friction cannot grow. A man who cannot face other people cannot lead them. A man who cannot tolerate correction becomes brittle, vain, and weak. And the machine is not evil, but it can become a padded room with pleasant lighting, and many men are more tempted by that than they would ever admit. Pause. Now for the more hopeful side, because despair is lazy and has terrible posture. The same technology that can flatter weakness can also reward discipline. AI can make a capable man more capable. It can compress research, speed up drafting, test ideas, organize information, and increase the reach of a single person working with purpose. A man who learns these tools well can do work that once required a small team, or at least a small team plus one guy who kept losing the file. Curious. This is where the conversation gets more interesting. A lot of people speak as if AI will flatten everyone into the same gray soup. That is too simple. In many cases, it may widen the gap between the disciplined and the sloppy. A man with judgment, patience, and standards can use the machine to expand his output without surrendering control. A man without those traits can drown in auto-generated clutter and call it achievement. So, masculinity in the AI age may become less about brute effort alone and more about directed command. Can you tell good from bad? Can you make decisions under uncertainty? Can you shape tools without becoming dependent on them? Can you move faster without becoming careless? Those questions matter. These are old masculine virtues in a new setting. mastery, restraint, competence, stewardship. The machine changes the arena. It does not erase the contest. If anything, it makes the contest harsher. A fool with AI is still a fool. He is simply a faster one. He can now produce nonsense at industrial scale and mistake volume for greatness. A serious man will do something else. He will use the tool to extend his reach while keeping his standards intact. He will let the machine handle repetition while he handles judgment. He will not kneel before it. He will command it. That difference may define the winners and losers of this age more clearly than people yet understand. Thoughtful. The old masculine ideal often leaned on one image, provider. That still matters, of course. Food does not appear through sincerity alone, yet the next age seems to demand a broader pattern. A man will need to build, teach, and protect. He will need to build because the economy is becoming more fluid and less forgiving. Stable roles are weaker. Small enterprises, side income, technical trades, digital work, and self-directed effort will matter more. He will need to teach because children and younger adults are growing up in a world flooded with fake authority, fake images, fake intimacy, and fake certainty. He will need to protect because discernment itself is becoming a form of defense. You do not only guard a household from physical threats now, you guard it from confusion, manipulation, distraction, and polished nonsense. Size. This is a healthier model of masculinity than the cartoon versions floating around online.
It is less about posture and more about responsibility. Less peacocking, more load bearing. A man does not prove himself by looking dangerous in edited clips. He proves himself by being useful when something goes wrong. That usefulness can take many forms. It can mean repairing a system. It can mean explaining a hard truth to a child. It can mean spotting a scam before it reaches your family. It can mean securing devices, making wise decisions, or helping build a local group that people trust. The details vary. The pattern does not. A civilization gets sturdier when its men become dependable in concrete ways. That is not glamorous. It is better. Greatness often looks less like applause and more like being the person other people call when the room goes crooked. The machine will not remove the need for such men. It will make them rarer, which means it will make them more valuable.
Pause. One of the funnier reversals of this era is that many men used to treat creativity as decorative. Nice to have, perhaps, admirable in a distant way, something for artists, eccentrics, and the type of man who owns scarves on purpose. Then the machine arrived and made creative judgment economically useful again. AI can produce words, images, code, music, plans, and endless piles of content at absurd speed. What it cannot do well on its own is decide what is worth making, what fits a real human need, what carries taste, or what holds together as a coherent thing. Thoughtful. That still depends on human direction. This matters for masculinity because leverage now depends partly on judgment of form. A man who can direct systems, combine ideas, frame a message, tell a story, and turn clutter into clarity has an advantage. Creativity stops being decoration and starts becoming command.
That does not mean every man needs to become a poet under moonlight or paint swans into the sunset. Though that would certainly improve some apartment complexes. It means he needs the ability to choose, shape, and judge. In an age of near infinite outputs, discernment becomes productive power. The machine is prolific in the way a raccoon is enthusiastic. It gets into everything. It scatters material all over the floor. Someone still has to decide what belongs on the table. That role belongs to the human being with standards. The man who can bring order to abundance will outpace the man who merely consumes it. And that is one of the hidden shifts of this age. Creativity is no longer a side ornament to masculine competence. It is becoming part of the job. The man who can see form where others see noise will have reach, influence, and staying power. He will not merely keep up. He will shape the field.
Thoughtful. All of this comes down to one final question. What will men do with the tools? Because AI is going to sort men, not through law, but through habit. Some men will use these systems to withdraw further from reality. They will live through simulations, outsource thought, chase fake status, and let the machine smooth every rough edge of life until they become spiritually boneless. They will be entertained, assisted, soothed, and slowly diminished. They will have many conveniences and very little substance. Determined. Others will use the same tools to build thicker lives. They will organize businesses, clubs, workshops, schools, media projects, families, mutual aid networks, and local cultures with spine. They will treat AI as equipment, not as a substitute for human fellowship. That difference will matter more than many people yet realize. Men do not become whole by managing prompts alone.
They become whole through duty, fellowship, service, risk, and shared reality. They become whole by being needed in ways that cannot be faked. That is why the deepest issue here is not technology by itself. It is social fragmentation. A lonely man with powerful tools is still a lonely man. In some cases, he becomes lonelier faster. So masculinity in the age of AI will not be judged mainly by slogans, aesthetics, or whether someone can grow a beard thick enough to alarm a park ranger. It will be judged by whether men can form strong bonds again and take responsibility for something beyond themselves. The machine can accelerate output. It cannot generate brotherhood. That has to be built by hand, with awkward conversations, flawed people, real obligations, and the kind of trust that does not come from an app. Annoying, yes. Also necessary. The age ahead will belong to the men who understand that reality is still worth the inconvenience.
Pause. Masculinity is not dying because machines got smarter. It is being tested because comfort got cheaper, simulation got better, and the old road to manhood stopped being obvious. Thoughtful. Some men will become passive in a world that makes passivity easy. Others will become sharper, more capable, more creative, and more responsible because the new tools reward command, judgment, and discipline. The real divide is not between man and machine. It is between the man who uses tools to build a real life and the man who uses them to avoid one. Pause. If this gave you something to think about, like the video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel, where we help creatives build community in the age of AI. Excited? And until next time, remember, a grand world awaits.